This video is on changing the starter in a 2002 Camry 4-cylinder. The starter is located right down here. You can see it. Right here's the starter. Right here's the solenoid on it. What I had was it just kind of clicked a little bit. You could hear the fuel pump making some noise. But it wouldn't engage to start the car. The battery still had plenty. The headlights came on, the dash lights came on. It just wouldn't start. I came out and knocked on the solenoid, this top piece, hit that a few times, and the starter a few times with my wrench. It started, so I was able to get it home to get it in the garage so I could replace it. Looks like what I need to do is remove the battery and remove the housing, the deal that's underneath the battery, remove this bracket so I can get to the two bolts that are on the starter. I've already called Auto Parts Store. It has a starter for roughly $120 with a lifetime warranty, so that's kind of a decent deal. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to slowly show you what I run into as I'm taking this apart. I do know that when you remove the battery, the car will go completely dead, so all the settings will have to be reset as far as the computer settings in the car. Your battery, your radio settings, the channels will all change. The car will idle pretty rough initially, and in fact it may have problems with staying running afterwards, and I'll show you the tricks on that in another video on if the car won't continue, if it idles hard or if it won't stay idling. But for now we're going to change the starter and I'll slowly take you through this. Okay, here I've got the battery out. Of course, when you take the battery out, you always pull off the negative terminal first. Make sure that nothing will short out on it. I always set the battery on a couple of 2x4s instead of on the concrete. Concrete supposedly will draw the charge out of the battery, and I'm actually going to hook this to a trickle charger so that it can continue to charge while I'm working on everything else. But I got this off. Looks like this just sits in there, sits in those couple of grooves. There's a couple of divots on the bottom of this that sit in that groove, and this bracket right here needs to come off so I can get access to it. So I'm going to take that bracket off next. Okay, I've come up with a couple more pieces that have to come out. The air filter, this top, there's a screw here and a screw right behind, and then you lift it up and you can get it off that. I've got those loose. There's two screws on this side over here and one over here that connects to this bracket, but then this whole plastic piece comes up, and it looks like right here there's a screw here and a screw here, so it looks like those need to come off also so I can get that bottom piece at least out of the way. The top piece has got so many hoses and everything going to it that I really don't want to unhook that if I can, the top part of that air filter housing. So I'm going to try and do it this way, get those bottom pieces off and get them out of there. Okay, I came up with, on the back side of this bottom housing for the air filter, there's a couple of connections there with some wires going through it. And instead of trying to take those apart, I think I can get to everything here. Undo this cable, just push in this little button on the front of it. That'll pop out. Looks like I take this bolt off. That'll be the electrical for it. That comes off. Then there's a bolt right here and a bolt right on the back side over there. So there's three more bolts to take off. So far everything has been a number 10, a 10 millimeter. So that's been pretty good so far. So I'm going to pull that off. Should be able to get to it no problem. Pull that off and then I'll take it in and get the replacement. Okay, here we are. I've got everything pretty much unbolted. Those two bolts on the sides were 14 millimeter. The one on the back of the solenoid was a 12 millimeter. So those are the only differences as far as what you want to, otherwise everything else was a 10 millimeter. So then you just grab the starter and pull it out. And I'll pull that out and put the replacement in. Okay, so there's my new starter in place. Took me all of about 3 minutes to get it put in there. On the back of the solenoid, the electrical hookup, the connection underneath here, that changed on the new starter, that bolt was a 1/2 inch instead of a 12 millimeters. So that was the only difference. I still have to tighten up those 2 bolts with the starter, but then it's a matter of putting it all back together. Since I started this project, it's been 1 hour, and that includes driving down to the auto parts store to pick up the new starter. So it's going pretty fast. It's actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. It helps to have the right tools though, so that's the difference, is make sure you've got a socket set and some wrenches to work with. Okay, except for putting the battery back in, got the starter, got the housing, got the air filter, got the air intake, got the brackets back in place. Just need to put that pad at the bottom of the battery, set the battery back in, bolt it down, hook it up, and then give her a start, see what happens. Almost there. Okay, back in the car, and I've got everything put together. The hood's down. Let's see what happens. 180,000 miles on this car, and basically nothing has gone wrong with it. Lights all come on. Start, baby. Just like it's supposed to. Probably the computers will need to reset. I'm sure my door locks will need to be reset, so that I like it when I put it into park. Everything unlocks. As soon as I take it out of park, everything locks. The radio stations, it may have to drive for a while. It also tries to reset the airflow through the throttle, and sometimes that will cause it to not idle, and that happened to me before, and I'll show you on another video how that's taken care of. But for now, I'm going to go take it for a ride, see if I can get everything to reset on the computer, and she's ready to go for another 180,000 miles. Looks like everything starts just fine. It took me about 45 minutes, maybe an hour, to get everything put together, to pull the starter out, replace it, put a new one in, and that included looking for my tools and getting everything organized. Another half hour, 45 minutes to run to the store to pick up the parts. So under 2 hours, and my car starts just great. Look at that, perfect. Love it. It's idling great. I put 20 miles on it to let it reset. A little bit of highway driving, a little bit of city driving. Starts just great, and that's it. On a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the most difficult mechanic project, I would rate this at probably a 2, only because you need to know a little bit about how wrenches work and how to do the screws and stuff. But I tell you what, pretty easy job replacing a starter on a 2002 Camry with 180,000 miles on it.